Hi everyone, it's ScorpioMystique, and welcome to Scorpio's Evolution Challenge. Thank you so much for joining me on this amazing journey to learn about Scorpio's three levels of evolution: the scorpion, the eagle, and the phoenix, and to learn about how you can embody all these characteristics, maintain your highest level of evolution, but accept all that you are on the path to manifesting your desires. So it's Scorpio season. There was just a new moon yesterday, October 30th, 2016, a new moon in Scorpio. And we only get one new moon in our sign a year. So a new moon is like a fresh start, an astrological new year personally for you. And since new moons symbolize new beginnings, it's very important to use the time around the new moon, particularly the 10 days around the new moon, and implement a completely fresh start. So this is a great new beginning for us. We are evolving, and we are not only going to do it in a vague way, we're going to dive into what it means to evolve. So thank you for joining me on this journey, and I can't wait to dive right in. So let's talk about what today means when we're going to discuss the scorpion level of evolution. There are three levels of evolution when you're a Scorpio: the scorpion, the eagle, and the phoenix. The stereotypical, most commonly described ways that Scorpios are seen, I would say, are through the scorpion, which is often described as a very extreme, intense, suspicious, manipulative, controlling, uh, jealous, unforgiving, inflexible person. So, yes, all of those attributes may also relate to Scorpios, but the problem is that too often people assume that's all we are. That's just one level of our evolution, one facet of our personality. We are so much more complex, infinitely more complex. But it is also important to acknowledge the scorpion level within us, to not fear it, to ponder why it exists and what triggers it within us. So that's where our stinger comes in. We are known as Scorpios to have a legendary stinger. And while we have a lot of patience, and it actually takes quite a lot to get us riled up, once we are, the scorpion level Scorpios often will sting, and our venom can be deadly. So that can translate to us, burning bridges with people in our lives. Sometimes they completely deserve it. Sometimes maybe we were very impulsive and our ego and our pride got into the way. But if you're at the scorpion level, sometimes you don't even realize that your pride and ego is getting in the way until later. So that's why becoming comfortable with our scorpion level of evolution can help us basically check ourselves when we're operating way too much at that level. So Scorpio season and a new moon is a perfect time for manifesting seeds of new intentions. And in order to get what you want, I saw your amazing, amazing goals. And I love the I can never get this word right. Let me try. Specificity. This is embarrassing. Let me just rephrase. I love how specific you all were. And we will get to that stage as we continue the evolution challenge. 1111 is the eagle stage. It's a wonderful date to evolve into eagles and to really understand and dive into eagle, which is all about manifesting what you want. So keep what your goals are, keep reading them this new moon, and definitely take steps towards making them come true. 11/11, we're really going to dive in, and that's 3 days before the full moon. So everything is going to, you're going to see how everything aligns through being a part of this challenge. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm already talking about the eagle, and then 11/21 will be the phoenix stage. This moment right now is about the scorpion. And the reason why I find myself, already trying to get ahead of myself is because the Scorpion stage isn't always that pretty. And it's the part of ourselves, I'd say, our shadow side. And our shadow side, we can joke about it through memes on our page and we can own it, but it's also something that if we don't, try to transcend, it can become destructive. So let's just go ahead and admit to ourselves that sometimes as Scorpios, we are way too hard on ourselves. And by being way too hard on ourselves, it can translate to us also being hard and tough and sometimes mean to others. So there are different, activities and exercises and tips and ways of thinking that can help us change this systemic way of kind of beating ourselves up. We have to first acknowledge that yes, being a Scorpio is a superpower and we are all superheroes, but we also are human beings and we make errors. So don't view the Scorpion side of evolution as something that is so terrible that you have to kill. It's a part of who you are for a reason, and that's really interesting when you want to kind of wonder, why do I feel so intensely? Why can I get vengeful? Why am I so obsessive? Why do I sometimes get irrationally jealous? What am I feeling the need to control so much? It's pretty amazing that as Scorpios, we even ask ourselves that question, because all those questions, because, all the signs get jealous, all the signs get angry and vengeful. It's just that as Scorpios sometimes, because we feel so deeply, all of our emotions are maximized. And, that means when we're happy, we're ecstatic and life just feels like unbelievably blissful and our energy and positivity is contagious. And when we're sad or hurt or angry, that also is amplified. So when you look at it that way, it's pretty powerful to know that once we become in control of our emotions and own the good and the bad, because in reality, all emotions are valid and there's really not a spectrum of negativity or positivity. It's just the way you feel. Then we're empowered to be able to actualize our goals. So that being said, I would like for us to focus on asking ourselves why we feel certain emotions. So one of our first assignments will be the Let It Go meditation. So the first assignment of the Scorpio Evolution Challenge is called the Let It Go meditation. So the way the Let It Go meditation works is that you will write down everything. This is my journal, and it's really helpful to have a journal, especially during a new moon. And so you're going to write down, and it doesn't have to be a journal. It can be, your phone or anything you feel more comfortable with, something intimate. But I do recommend a piece of paper. There's something about writing things down on paper that psychologically affects your brain and makes you wired to remember it and absorb it and focus on what you're writing a little bit more. So if you can have a piece of paper and a pen and go to a private spot and write down everything that has been saddening, maddening, frustrating you recently. And not even only recently. Let it out. This is a new moon, so new moons are about fresh starts, but you can't have fresh starts if you have a whole bunch of baggage and weight and skeletons in your closet. So this is a very private, intimate, vulnerable exercise, but you're being vulnerable with yourself. You don't have to share it with anyone else. It's really meant for you. So it depends, how deeply you're wanting to go into this. It could lead to you feeling very emotional immediately and not wanting to go too deeply. But if you do challenge yourself, remember, this is the evolution challenge. It's not meant to be super, super easy. It's meant to show you who you are and help you love yourself, all parts of yourself, even the darkest. And Scorpios are able to do that. So back to the assignment. Just write down what's been making you angry, frustrated, what you felt jealous over, what you felt envy over, what you felt like you wanted to be vengeful over. So everybody's at different levels of evolution. So not everyone may feel like, oh, I feel super, super vengeful. But even if you're at an eagle or phoenix level, there's still something that might trigger you. You have to be honest with yourself during this exercise. Sometimes people think all they have to do is think positively and speak positively and ignore any of the more intense emotions that may be coming out. That doesn't really help because it will lead to you eventually having to find an outlet for them. So try to be honest with yourself during this exercise. So, for example, if you're aiming for an amazing position at your work and you are feeling some sort of competition with your coworkers, you can write that down. Just write it down. If you're in a romantic relationship or not even, you really enjoy someone, but you feel like maybe there are other people that they're talking to and you don't feel like the attention is solely on you, that's a valid emotion. Write it down. And it's very understandable. As Scorpios, we're territorial and we love hard and we want to be a priority and not an option. Write it down. Don't deny it. Write down as much as you can what's been making you feel overwhelmed, what makes you feel insecure. So go ahead and release it on paper. So that's your first assignment. I would like then for you to read the list to yourself in private. This is a very private activity. And you can choose to read it out loud or you can read it in your head. And I want you to admit to what you wrote. So writing it down already is one step, but rereading it and being like, this is how I feel, or at least I felt in the moment when I wrote this, and I accept it. Accept this. That's the thing with Scorpion stage of evolution, is that sometimes our ego makes us, we want to put up a tough front, like things don't affect us that much. And sometimes it backfires because we may seem really chill on the outside, and inside we have such a deep emotional world. So this is you releasing and revealing your emotional world to your own self, no one else but you. And keep in mind that your emotions are fleeting and passing, so this paper will not be permanent. The next step of this challenge assignment is, after you've read it to yourself enough times, or you admitted and accepted it, and you're like, okay, well, these are just the way I feel. Like, it's okay to feel jealous. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel bitter. It's okay to feel resentful. These are all the, extreme characteristics of Scorpio that is associated with the Scorpion level. And that's not all that characterizes you. But in this moment, with certain situations, it's okay to feel it. So once you've felt like that's where you are, like it doesn't trigger you anymore to read this, it's just, okay, this is how I feel. It should feel kind of cathartic, ideally. And once again, do this at your own pace. So this challenge step is from 10:31 to 11:11. We'll be working on the Scorpion, what the Scorpion means, and evolving from the Scorpion to the Eagle. So take as much time as you need. It could take you 5 minutes. It could take you 5 days. It could take you all 10 days. So once you have read it and accepted the way you felt at that moment about certain things that have overwhelmed you, and hopefully you feel better, start to tear the paper. And as you tear the paper, start envisioning the best case scenario of everything that you've written that has been worrying you or stressing you or making you feel a certain way. So if I go back to the job situation, as you're tearing the paper that says, I am jealous that my competitor seems to be getting more attention at work than I am, despite all the work that I've been putting in. As you're tearing it, think of the best case scenario in mind. So envision yourself coming into work and seeing on the wall Employee of the Month and getting a letter that you have a bonus. Or imagine that your scenario that you wrote down in your journal romantically about feeling like simply an option and not a priority. As you're tearing that paper, imagine someone who respects, it could be the person you're into, it could be anybody who comes to mind as you're imagining the best case scenario. Someone who respects, honors you, is loyal to you, choosing you, and prioritizing you. So this is a very powerful out with the old, in with the new, retraining of your mind, Scorpio Evolution Challenge exercise. And that is, the scorpion will sometimes, the scorpion is known for being a ground dwelling creature. So it stays low to the ground. So it's easy for it to sometimes be pessimistic and super suspicious and super cautious and always on their guard. So this exercise is training your mind. Okay, you've released yourself of the things that have been stressing you, worrying you, overwhelming you, making you feel a certain way. And now as you're tearing this, you could also shred it or burn it, whatever means of disposing of it. You could crumble it all up. This challenge is flexible. Do what works for you. Don't feel like you have to follow every single thing I say to the T, but this is just the symbolic idea. So the idea is that as you're tearing it into pieces or shredding it or burning it, you are feeling this lightness, and the lightness makes room for new energy, and the new energy is positivity, which is, if my brain was able to think of all these things that I'm worried about and stressed about, and most of them haven't even happened, they're just happening in my brain. Imagine if I told my brain to think of the best case scenario. And imagine if my brain thought of the best case scenario more than it thought of a negative one, or one that kind of made me feel heavier. Because once again, it's not truly about negative and positive, but it is about lightness and heaviness. Some thoughts that you entertain in your brain make you feel light. They make you want to jump and skip. The thought of receiving a love letter from your crush, your husband, your boo, whoever your romantic interest is. The thought of being able to get into your dream school and on a full ride. All of those make you feel light and happy. And then there's certain thoughts that it's okay to accept that they exist, but if you dwell on too much, it becomes an unhealthy balance. And so this evolution challenge, in order to evolve into the eagle, which soars high above the BS, you have to be light enough to spread your wings, and you have to be willing to leave the ground dwelling atmosphere and environment. And this let it go meditation, it will help you face your inner demons to the point where they won't scare you anymore. That's step one. See the fear and do it anyways. That's what Scorpios do. So it's going to be a very, very, very amazing experience, I think. And I would want you to share with us, if you want to, how you feel after doing the Let It Go meditation. So I will sum it up again very quickly. You're going to take a journal or a piece of paper and in private write down everything that's been stressing you, overwhelming you, making you feel emotions that are intense and that sometimes intense and too much. And after you've written everything down, you're going to read it to yourself. You're going to accept what you've written, understand that these feelings are passing, and you're going to start discarding of it by ripping it apart. And as you rip it apart, you're going to imagine the best case scenario of everything that you've written down. And you're going to start filling your brain more and more with the idea that the best case scenario is what can manifest and will manifest in your life. So that will feel great. And I will send email reminders because I would like for you to do this every day until, you realize that your mind is reaching a tipping point, or that more positivity is entering your life. So this week is a new moon week, and I think a lot of people are going to have aha moments. And I want you to tell me your aha moments. We'll have a discussion on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We'll keep this going. And of course, the comment section of YouTube. Please let me know how it is. I'm going to be doing this with you. So that's assignment number 1, but this is an evolution challenge and it's a new moon week and we have to start off strong. So I have just a few more. The assignment number one is the most intense. So the other ones are going to be, I think you guys are going to do swimmingly. So are you guys ready to hear the two other assignments? All right. Well, I'm talking to myself on screen, so I'm just going to assume everybody's ready. All right. So assignment number 2 for the evolution challenge. You've been honest with yourself. You've been honest about what's been bugging you, hurting you, making you feel insecure, jealous, bitter. You're honest about the fact that life isn't always rosy-posy, but it is Scorpio season, and sometimes diving into the depths is all we know. But we also need to, our goal right now with this evolution challenge is to soar into the heights. So after you've done this gritty work of the Let It Go meditation, I would like for you to work on the forgive yourself meditation and action. Because it's more than just a meditation, it's also an action and a promise to yourself. So, Scorpios, we harbor a lot of secrets, and we also have such high standards for ourselves that we often are really disappointed when we do something that we think we could have, in hindsight, done differently. And instead of letting it go and being like, okay, well, you realize that, you might have made an error. Sometimes we just punish ourselves for it. It might be subconscious by saying, oh, I don't deserve friendship or love, or like no one, let me just be a loner, or nobody understands me. I don't even understand myself. Sometimes we're a little too self-destructive because of things that we may have done. And sometimes, because Scorpio is a sign of karma, it may lead to people, we attract people in our lives because we haven't forgiven ourselves for things. We may attract people in our lives that hurt us, and that we find hard to forgive. So it can be a difficult cycle. And before we are able to ever forgive anyone else, we have to begin by forgiving ourselves. And we have to think about even the smallest things that we may not realize that from years and years ago we haven't forgiven ourselves for. So the Forgive Yourself challenge assignment is to write yourself a letter and write down the things that you may have done, transgressions, people you may have hurt, people you may have been too hard on, bridges you may have burnt unnecessarily, times you let your ego or pride get in the way of a friendship, a romance, a job, an opportunity. Write it down. But once again, this is not about regret. It's about moving forward stronger. So it's about accepting it and moving on. Scorpios aren't always very good at letting go, but this challenge will really get us to see ourselves as beings that deserve every happiness, and that means not being burdened. The problem with the Scorpion stage sometimes is that our self-protectiveness backfires because we alienate people and opportunities that can help us grow because we're not trustful of life in general, and we view life as a battlefield. If you're at the Scorpion level of evolution, you know that there's probably more out there, but sometimes you're just too focused on the day-to-day realities of putting a wall that you don't allow yourself the opportunity to experience what's out there. So I understand that these assignments are vulnerable, but they will empower you. They will empower us all. And that's, once again, why we have 10 days to work through these assignments. So that is the second assignment. Forgive yourself. Write yourself a letter. And then after you've written these things that you may have done, think of everything else that you've done that has been so beautiful and amazing. So yes, you may have maybe, cut off a friend out of a misunderstanding or something, for example. But think of all the friends that you were with and there for during their darkest moments and happiest moments. So in that letter, it can't only be you being hard on yourself. It's you forgiving yourself and understanding that you're a complex creature, multifaceted with so many layers, And because you understand some of the layers that may have held you back, you're now focusing on the ones that will help you grow. So this letter is a pep talk. I'm not going to give you too much detail about what to write because you need to tune into your intuition and it's you writing to yourself. But one of the examples I would maybe write in mine, and I've started to write mine, and I will continue after once the challenge begins. I want to do it with you. Would be something like, I used to be extremely, and not even used to be, I still have moments where I can be deeply, deeply mistrustful in both friendships and relationships. And that is because of the fact that I was hurt in the past. But there are moments where when I let myself love, I'm deeply rewarded with attracting people who support me. My birthday, I was surrounded by so much love, and I'm in awe of how much love I had. And so that must mean I'm doing something right, and I should focus on that rather than, the times I have been hurt. So I forgive myself for times I may have pushed people away. I do. And I've learned from that. And I appreciate that I've gone through that because I'm a better, wiser person now. So it feels amazing to say that. So imagine how amazing it's going to feel when you forgive yourself for anything. And that's just one layer. So whenever something pops up in your brain where you're like, this is something I've been holding on to and I haven't forgiven myself for, get your little journal out, whatever you've been recording your thoughts on, write down in your letter what you forgive. So it doesn't only have to be one letter, it can be multiple letters, but just keep a sacred place for you forgiving yourself. And once again, you can decide to keep your letter in your journal, or if you want to discard it and release it, that's absolutely fine. You can do whatever works best for you. So I'm very, very excited. And one final assignment for the first 10 days of the Scorpio Evolution Challenge. This assignment is definitely, for some people, going to be challenging, and sometimes even including myself, I have to admit. Scorpion level of evolution can sometimes be associated with paying too much attention to what's going on the outside. So always being on the guard for if someone's going to hurt you, or always paying attention to what other people are doing because you're competitive and you want to do better. So what doesn't help with all of that is social media sometimes. Social media can definitely help if the majority of your feeds are very positive, spiritual, and uplifting. So that's already a good habit, and one of my that it just really helps in that sense, But at the same time, technology in general can be draining for Scorpio energy, and the constant taking in of pictures and news and ads, and even if you fill it with as much positivity as possible, can be overwhelming and can make us feel antsy, like there's always something else we have to be doing. So a challenge, I know a lot of Scorpios have already been doing this, and I've been trying to attempt it, so we're going to all work on it together, is to do a little bit to have set hours of a social media detox. So good set hours for certain people, maybe 2 hours or 1 hour before bedtime for sure. It's scientifically proven that it's best to actually take your technology out of the room completely. So I've been trying to put it in the kitchen drawer, for example, my laptop and my phone. But if you can do an extra challenge and also give yourself 1 or 2 hours in the day where you don't at all check your phone or your laptop, and you're just reading or taking a walk, talking to your friend, being in the moment as much as possible, you will notice a huge shift. At first, because truly technology can be an addiction, you may find yourself feeling antsy, but the more we do it together, the more refreshing it will feel, and it will help us evolve to the eagle. And I will explain more in the eagle stage. If we are able to get past this challenge, the eagle stage on 11/11, I'm ready. I really am. So I'm really excited for this. I thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this, for joining this challenge. I hope you guys loved what you heard about the Scorpion, because it's important to love ourselves fully. And I love the fact that the Scorpion part of myself exists, it's really awesome because without the scorpion, there would be no eagle or phoenix. You need the scorpion to evolve into the eagle and the phoenix. So we will evolve together. We are always evolving. Scorpio season is lit, I promise you. And I'm grateful for your support. I wish you the best on your assignments. I will send an email with all of the assignment details again and post on my social media sites the assignments, and we will hold each other accountable. So write down your thoughts, questions, affirmations, goals in the comments below. Share with fellow Scorpios, and you know, just know that the fact that you came to see this video means you're at the right place in your life, and that you know that you're full of inner strength and power. So keep that thought throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout the rest of Scorpio season, throughout your life, and get ready to soar. I will see you on 11/11 as we discuss the eagle. Bye, Scorpios.